news! Joe Biden's running again, even though a former CIA head says he helped Biden with corruption, even though Biden was suspiciously visiting Ukraine when Hunter was getting a job at a Ukrainian energy company. Democracy! Hooray! 4 more years! Hello there, you 6.4 million wonders. Thanks for joining me on this voyage towards awakening. Together we grow stronger. Together we can confront the corrupt powers that surround us. Together we can confront this centralizing authoritarian force that doesn't want us even having conversations like this one. Hit that notification bell right now. It's the only way that you will receive the content we make daily. We do a longer show on Rumble every day. It's fantastic. You'll love it. I know I will see you there. Perhaps under the glorious presidency of Joe Biden 2024. Let's see how the mainstream are handling this.
First tonight, President Biden making it official he is running, well aware of concerns about his age. He hopes the American people will let him, quote, finish the job.
President Biden came into this term as the oldest person in U.S. history to assume the role. And if he wins re-election and is sworn in, he'll break his own record at 82 years of age.
It's not a good record. Now I'm older still and I'm still in charge. The problem with the presidency of Joe Biden is not a personal issue. It's because he's an emblem of institutionalized power. He is an emblem of a Democrat Party that shuts down, even within its own ranks, alternative voices in order to ensure ongoing hegemony. The problem with Joe Biden is the way that he's funded. It's his past. It's what he stands for. It's that he is the very epitome of a career politician that will say whatever's necessary while ultimately legislating on behalf of his donors. There's so many problems with Joe Biden, we've not got time to list all of them, but what we'll focus on is a former CIA head saying that he helped Joe Biden make the Hunter Biden laptop story look like Russian disinformation when it was true from the beginning, and that potentially Hunter Biden's ties to Ukrainian energy companies were greatly assisted by his father. Just imagine for a moment that these were stories about Donald Trump, who I also don't think is the solution. I know some of you do. Imagine how much saturated media coverage this would get. Donald Trump Jr. is working with a Ukrainian energy company, Burisma. Donald Trump was visiting Ukraine to get him that job, potentially. That story would be everywhere, all of the time. The problem, I say, with the liberal establishment is their fetishization of the small differences between them and more overtly corrupt political entities.
Now, despite concerns of his handling of the economy and his age, it does appear President Biden is looking to face those challenges head on and is prepared for another 4 years at the White House.
He's not facing the problems head on. He's just carrying on being president, even though he's much too old and apparently much too corrupt. Even in a system that allows a certain degree of corruption, maybe his corruption is egregious. Certainly a former head of the CIA seems to be saying so.
In the final weeks of the 2020 presidential campaign, the New York Post reported on the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop, alleging he used his father's position for personal gain, a claim the president's son has denied. Less than a week later, more than 50 former intelligence officials released a statement that the laptop had all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation.
Our own conversations with journalists like Michael Schellenberger have educated us and helped us to understand that this is how the system works. What happens is someone says, you might want to watch out for some laptop stories, they're disinformation, I tells you. Then when that story breaks, because they already know that story's about to break, you regard it as misinformation. What happened is, allegedly, Joe Biden or his administrative team contacted the CIA and said, could you put together a letter with 50 signatories from the CIA saying that this story is Russian disinformation? So when the story broke, the Biden administration went and say, hey, this is nothing to do with us. The CIA are saying that it's disinformation, misinformation, malinformation. The fact is, it was a strategy to prevent a very damaging story influencing the public and prevent them from voting for the Biden administration. The idea that he would stand again is ridiculous. Notice that these categories of misinformation, malinformation, and disinformation are being escalated, elevated, that we're all hearing about them all the time, simply so there are means, methods, and opportunities to control and censor the type of data we get access to. Not to protect us, but to control the information that we see and the type of decisions we might make, the opinions we might form.
According to a letter released Thursday night from the Republican chairman of the House Judiciary and Intelligence Committees, former CIA Deputy Director Michael Morell told congressional investigators that days after the laptop story, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, then a Biden Biden campaign advisor reached out to Morell and set in motion the events that led to the intelligence official's public statement.
The problem is you start to feel like you've heard this story 1,000 times. The problem is you start to find it hard to engage in this information because really it just confirms something that you've long sensed, that the system is completely corrupt. The politicians that are in charge of you are corrupt and are in league with corporate and financial interests, that they use the deep state to control the media, and that the idea that they're being offered to you as a fresh alternative is ridiculous. The CIA acted on behalf of the president in controlling a story that could have affected the outcome of an election. Allegedly. The fact is this: only through the imposition of centralized authority, through censorship, through new regulations to be able to lock people down, the ability to control social media spaces, can the inertia towards devolution be stopped. All of us are starting to realize now that the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are both corrupt, that career politicians are not the answer, that there needs to be significant changes in our economic, financial and sociological systems, and that neither of those parties are going to deliver that change. The media and the government broadly are trying now to impose narratives that confine our conversation to convenient framing for them. No one wants the rise of new independent media voices, the rise of new independent political movements, because that is precisely what's required to end this kind of institutional corruption. The idea that there could be an election in 2024 between two elderly men, neither of whom are going to meaningfully change the system, is ridiculous and tells us the deeper truth that we all need to come to terms with. The system is dying. But that's not the only shady deal involving the Biden family. There's the laptop, there's the control of the story around the laptop, but what about its contents? What about the financial relationships between the Biden family and Ukrainian energy companies? We would not be able to make this fantastic content without our sponsors. That's why I've got to ask you right now, and I need an honest answer. Do you suffer from brain fog, distraction, fatigue? Do you? Is there a secret elixir that can give you energy, vim, chutzpah, moxie, get up and go get 'em? Yes, there bloody well is. Heights. With just 2 capsules a day, you can enjoy clarity, focus, sleep, calm. Each capsule is packed with all the vegan omega-3s and vitamins B, C, and D that we need to support our frankly fragile mental health. Heights couldn't be further away from the evils of Big Pharma. They're all about transparency. Look, you can even see through the capsule. That's transparency. All the ingredients are in the most bioavailable forms so your body can absorb and use them. No synthetic crap, just pure, unadulterated goodness. Get a head start and use brand 15 for 15% off your first box of Heights Smart Supplement. That's brand 15 for 15% off your first box of Heights Smart Supplement. Trust me, your brain and your body will thank you. Now, let's go back to other version of me talking about the government, big tech, the military-industrial complex, and things that are a lot more opaque than this. Then Vice President Joe Biden visited Ukraine on a mission to bolster the country's energy industry days after his son Hunter joined the board of natural gas company Burisma in 2014, which a former White House stenographer claims implicates the now 8-year-old in a foreign influence peddling kickback scheme.
So I'm sitting back there with a tape recorder. Jake Sullivan comes back and somebody asks him about fracking. His answer is, well, we're bringing a lot of American assistance over for fracking. Burisma was the direct beneficiary of that fracking. At the time, Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma, and Joe Biden is bringing American taxpayer money to enrich that company and himself and his family.
But that's only 2 members of the Biden family that are demonstrably corrupt, it appears. There's still probably loads of other Bidens that are completely reliable. On Monday, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer revealed we've identified 6 additional members of Joe Biden's family who may have benefited from the Biden family's businesses that we are investigating, bringing the total number of those involved or benefiting to 9. Last month, Comer announced his committee had found evidence that at least 3 Biden family members and 2 associates received payments that originated from China in 2017, fewer than 2 months after Joe Biden left office as Barack Obama's vice president. Bank records subpoenaed by the committee show that State Energy HK Limited, a firm affiliated with Chinese Communist Party-backed energy company CEFC, China Energy, wired $3 million to Biden family associate Rob Walker in March 2017, who then divvied it up over a period of about 3 months, Comer said. It appeared that first son Hunter Biden received about $610,000 in payments as part of the 2017 deal, while first brother James Biden got roughly $360,000 and the president's daughter-in-law, Haley Biden, received $25,000. The panel's March memo also enlisted an unknown Biden, who received 4 payments in 2017, totaling $70,000. Hunter Biden's longtime business partner, Eric Schwerin, made at least 8 visits to the White House in 2016, bringing his total number of visits during the Obama-Biden administration to 27. Is this good enough for you as a system of government? Is this good enough to warrant another 4 years of Biden administration? Are you willing to accept that degree of nepotism and corruption? If you are a Democrat supporter, would you not be appalled if the same exact things were being said of the Trump family? What does it say about our political systems more broadly that we just accept this kind of corruption, that it almost kind of bores us? What it shows you is that Joe Biden is the perfect symbol for where American democracy is right now. The appearance of general conviviality, but deep state corruption when it comes to the misuse of CIA powers, inappropriate financial behavior when it comes to members of his own family, a peculiar coincidence that soon after these connections with Ukraine and China, there are wars that involve those countries on the horizon. It doesn't instill a great deal of trust, does it? It seems that the media and American politics more broadly are in alliance with one another in some desperate attempt to maintain some kind of centralized status quo when all of the evidence points to the dawning of a new political era, more devolution, more decentralization, a new experimentation with federalism. It's time, I think, to consider some radically different political solutions. How can you be motivated to get out and vote, let alone be excited about the potential for voting for Joe Biden in 2024, knowing that whether or not these actions are legal, they certainly feel corrupt. They're certainly not the kind of political leaders that we're going to require if we're going to change the world. How do these kind of stories make you feel about your political system? How do they make you feel about your media? How do they make you feel about deep state involvement in managing the outcomes of an election at a time when people are super excited that Fox is about to pay out a bunch of money because of saying untrue things about Dominion voting machines? It shows you that even when you can't demonstrate electoral fraud, the whole system is fraudulent anyway. So what's the point in it? And people will criticize me for encouraging voter apathy. Oh, this is what leads to people not voting. Now, what leads to people not voting is there's nothing worth voting for. There's no one worth investing in. The media is totally corrupt. And I am actually advocating for real, passionate, genuine change instead of continuing down this line of atrophying corruption. Why are we trapped in some sort of abusive relationship where we allow ourselves to be treated like this and then continue voting for them and advocating for them? Surely it's time for new independent voices. What's wrong with breaking up these systems that are only there to serve the kind of financial corruption and deep state collusion that these stories demonstrate? There is the possibility now for new parties. The Republican Party aren't going to deliver real change. The Democrat Party aren't going to deliver real change. These dear, sweet, doddering old sods are going to give you nothing but the same old corruption. It's time for new, independent political voices. And now there is the technology and the media to carry their message. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these. Turn on the notification bell, but more important than any of that, if you can, please stay free. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll see you in a second.